Hey, you guys remember when I titled the last podcast, How Depth Issues Are Hurting the Nuggets Season? Yes. Welcome to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn, at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network. What a win for the Denver Nuggets last night as they take down the Golden State Warriors without Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Christian Braun, Julian Strawther, Deron Holmes, if you want to count him. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Hey, little bit of a bounce back there. Never hurt anybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Really appreciate the love and support on the podcast as always, folks. If you enjoy the show, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really appreciate it. We're going to get into all of the things from this win. We'll talk about from Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter to Russell Westbrook to Spencer Jones, who made a surprise appearance last night and was awesome for the Nuggets. I thought it was very enjoyable to watch somebody with that amount of strength and athleticism on the defensive end. In like just very surprising. So good stuff from the Nuggets. We'll have plenty of time to get into it all. Really quickly, though, let's get into and pay some bills. This podcast, as you know, is brought to you by the good folks over at BetOnline, the number one source for everything online betting in 2025. And for all of this madness coming up this weekend, whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest. BetOnline continues to be your sports betting source in the new year. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered. Make sure to get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Let's talk about what was a fantastic win for the Nuggets last night on national TV. Some folks were pretty upset that Nikola Jokic didn't play, Jamal Murray didn't play. You know, the guy who rolled his ankle and sprained it in the fourth quarter of the previous game. And the other guy looks like a cyborg wrapped up like a mummy on like in between these games. He's got a back wrap, a shoulder wrap, an elbow wrap. He's got things on his knees. Like he's just got everything. Fighting through the end of this season while playing the most minutes of his career doesn't matter. Some folks are just going to want to see him play. Is what it is. Denver got the win, 114-105 over the fighting Golden State Warriors, who were 14-1 apparently heading into that game, and certainly didn't look at the way that they played the Nuggets. We've got a super chat here from Cedric. Big W, Brody and Mr. Nugget are our secret duo. Not much of a secret anymore when you do it on national TV, that's for sure. Really great stuff from both of those guys. We'll get into it in just a little bit. But yeah, like Brody and AG, some fantastic performances from both of those guys. So Cedric, thank you for the super chat. Always appreciate it. Right before that, my buddy Jeff Morton popped in. This is a very March basketball game. Team rests best players, opposing team lets down, remaining players play hard and over their heads. Not sure we can extrapolate this, but it was fun to watch. 100% Nuggets fans are going to want to, like, I saw some comments up the thread about whiplash, and it's absolutely true. Denver's getting a lot of whiplash. Nuggets fans are getting a lot of whiplash from this. And from the performances, when you get the letdown versus the Washington Wizards, twice, by the way, versus dominating the Golden State Warriors, who were, like, again, heading into this game, they were one of the hottest teams in the NBA, but they certainly didn't play like it. They started this game 22 points in the first quarter, 28 points in the second quarter, 27 points in the third quarter, 28 in the fourth. Denver just like played great defense throughout this entire game. And yeah, there were some breakdowns, and especially at the beginning, there were some transition passes ahead of the defense that resulted in some points. Denver conceded 27 points off of turnovers in this game. They committed 22 total as a team. Holy cow. Aaron Gordon had 7. Russell Westbrook had 7. Other guys had a few too. But like just a wild number of turnovers. And the fact that Denver only conceded 27 points was honestly probably a win. But if you think about it that way, Denver allowed 25 fast break points. Their half-court defense was tremendous when they weren't hurting themselves. And just really nice to see that level of effort and intensity and focus, especially without Jokic, Murray, and Christian Braun. And I think those things are connected. Honestly, when you don't have your stars, everybody else looks to step up. Everybody else looks to say, hey, we are also here. We are capable of making this happen as well. You should give us the benefit of the doubt, give us the credit. And those guys stepped up in such a massive, massive way. And we got to talk about it for sure. But another super chat popping in from Mike P. Can't extrapolate everything, but when the Nuggets switch 1 through 5, it's better than their base defense right now. 100%. And they have the personnel to do that. It's very interesting to see. Like, Gordon is mobile enough to be able to stick with most guards. Maybe not Steph Curry, and Mike struggles to stick with Steph Curry, and that's fine. But like, nobody can stick with Steph Curry on like that level. But the Warriors were trying to run their offense as much as possible, and Denver, yeah, they gave up some things every now and then, but overall, they just stood out on the three-point line and made sure that they weren't going to give up anything easy. And the Warriors, they were foul hunting. They were grifting a little bit, that's for sure. But it was very interesting to watch Denver's defense. And it gives me more faith in the playoffs that they can get to lineups like these. Maybe not with Spencer Jones in them, and maybe not with Hunter Tyson in them, but with a variety of different people that could really help switch and guard and just hunker down a little bit. There is some capability there. So good stuff. Thank you, Mike, for the super chat. I think so. Aaron Gordon, I think, deserves the gold medal for this one. Russell Westbrook right behind him in terms of what you should be crediting to Denver and who should be credited for this particular win. 38 points for Aaron Gordon is crazy. He's had a tough year, folks, not just on the court, but off the court as well. And to be able to step back up in this moment, in this building, Draymond Green talks a lot of mess. And Denver, actually, it's funny. Draymond Green nearly had a 5-by-5 game last night. 10 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 4 blocks. Good for him. But he also yelled a lot. And Denver, I think, benefited from it. Aaron Gordon certainly was smirking a little bit throughout that game as he was lobbying for the same foul calls that the Warriors got. But it was very impressive to watch Gordon shoot the basketball, whether it was off the dribble, in isolation, whether it was under the rim fighting around guys for different opportunities, and just everything in between. Gordon was a beast. 38 points on 14 of 23, 4 of 6 from 3, 6 of 6 from the line. Yes, he committed 7 turnovers. It does not matter because Denver was able to, when they weren't turning the ball over, they were able to put pressure correctly on the opposing team, both at the rim and at the three-point line. And when they couldn't do that, they often went to Aaron Gordon and he was able to get isolation buckets. That's what a star does. And it's a nice, healthy reminder, I think, that as much as Aaron Gordon has bought into being the best role player that he can be for Denver, with Jokic, with Murray, sometimes with Mike, with other guys, he can still do stuff like this. Now, to be fair, he's shooting 45% from 3 on the season, which is over 10% higher than his previous career high. So he might just be shooting a pretty good percentage right now, and maybe that's the reason why we're getting what we're getting at this point. But it's still really, really impressive to watch Aaron Gordon play right now. Russell Westbrook, triple-double. Look, the efficiency wasn't perfect. I'm not going to look, doesn't matter, because when you play 42 minutes and you have as much responsibility as they did, Jalen Pickett played pretty poorly last night. I think if Michael Malone had his druthers, he would have tried to play Jalen Pickett a little bit more and try to rest Russell Westbrook a little bit more. But this is the kind of game that Russ is really here for, like where you have your starters out. Jokic and Murray need the rest, need the break. Murray injured himself, he hurt himself. And Russell Westbrook's the perfect guy to run things through and make good decisions with the basketball, put the ball into a good place where other people can take advantage of that. Russ took a variety of ill-advised shots, made some bad turnovers. Yes, that is a thing. And other people will point that out like a little bit stronger than I have. But I thought that Russ was excellent overall. 16 assists is crazy. He had 11 at halftime. And though we are kind of seeing this trend a little bit where Russ has these fantastic first halves lately and then really struggles in the second half. But he was still able to make some really impressive plays, whether it was passes, setting the table for both Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon, or just a shot in, I don't remember if it was Moses Moody's face or Gary Payton II's face. He shot it right in the face of one of those guys with about 4 minutes left to go, and the Nuggets up about 7. Buries a three on the left wing. And then the final shot of the game was really funny. Aaron Gordon got kind of stuck on the left wing. Russ flashes to the free throw line, doesn't know how much time he has left on the shot clock. It's very late. And then just kind of flicks the ball as soon as he catches it up onto the rim, and it just goes straight through. Just kind of one of those nights. And Denver definitely benefited from that, but it was set up by the fact that Russ was playing so hard and trying to do the right thing on a consistent basis, trying to put pressure on the opposing team. He was attacking in isolation when they were giving him a lane, but for the most part, it was about the passing, it was about the rebounding, it was about the hustle. And just a really, really impressive performance from Russell Westbrook. He deserves a ton of credit. We're going to talk about 2 more guys before we hit a break. Michael Porter Jr., he took a pretty hard fall early in this game, kind of late in the first quarter. And it makes me cringe every time, just kind of knowing what he's been through, knowing how painful it is. I couldn't even tell you how painful it is. I think only Mike could really tell you. But he's fought through 3 back surgeries for a reason. And the fact that he is still playing basketball probably isn't talked about enough. He's gone through ups and downs this season. He's gone through highs. He's gone through lows. He was not nearly traded, but he was in discussions to be traded. And tonight, where you have your best 2 players out, Porter struggled at times without those guys, struggled to make a positive impact. But tonight, last night, I thought he was great. Plus 20 in the game in 41 minutes in a game that the Nuggets won by 9. So they were minus 11 in the 7 minutes that he didn't play. They needed his spacing. They needed his scoring. They needed his threat. But also, he was just hustling on the defensive end. It doesn't fully manifest. He had a couple of steals, but he grabbed defensive rebounds. He was Denver's leading defensive rebounder last night and just continues to play hard in these games. And that there are times where he's going to let a play go, but that's what you have to do in basketball. You can't play hard 100% of the time because you're going to get hurt and you're going to tire yourself out. And he knows that and he understands that. And yet he's really fighting hard anyway. And it's not just about the shooting, although he made some impressive shots last night. It's about his willingness to compete that people don't necessarily appreciate all the time. And I wanted to make sure to bring that up, especially here, because so often Russell Westbrook gets the credit for competing hard, and you see it visually. Peyton Watson, when he's fighting on the defensive end, same thing. Aaron Gordon, you can see him battling. With Michael Porter, the way that he is, the demeanor that he has, you don't always fully appreciate it, but he absolutely fights. And he does what he can kind of with the limitations that he has. I just wanted to make sure to mention that because it is a pretty impressive sight, what he is doing. So credit to him. And also, hey, credit to him for making some pretty tough shots. The three that he hit on the left wing after Russ kind of set him up on that is pretty impressive. He had no business shooting that shot. But sometimes Mike, as an elite 3-point shooter, just needs to take those shots. And it was a big one. And the Nuggets needed it tremendously. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. That is a great night. And finally, Peyton Watson's the other guy that we should talk about in the first segment here. Chased around Steph Curry for much of the game, played 35 minutes. It is a tiring thing to do. Peyton himself had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 4 blocks. They weren't all on Steph or anything like that. A lot of them are help side blocks. Some of them were chase downs in transition, things like that. But for the most part, the way that you can tell that Peyton Watson had a great night was because Steph Curry didn't. 20 points for Steph on 21 shots, 6 of 21 from the field, 4 of 14 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, 7 assists, 7 turnovers. That's like not good. It's just straight up a not good game for Steph Curry. And yeah, Jimmy Butler had some good moments, and other guys like Draymond Green, I thought played pretty well for the most part, but they need all of those guys to step up and play well. And the fact that Peyton was able to affect the game for Steph, kind of make him panic a little bit, make him make some bad decisions a little bit, that's important. That was very, very important, especially running their best 3-point shooter off the line. The Nuggets as a team did such a great job defending the three. Golden State went 8 of 33 from 3-point range. Steph went 4 of 14. That means the rest of the team went 4 of 19. They weren't perfect the entire time, but Denver, the fact that they were able to play with as much effort as they did certainly helped and showed that they they can play that style. And Watson was the head of the snake on that front. Russ played hard. Aaron was smart. Mike was playing hard. I thought Hunter Tyson played hard too. We'll get to them in the second segment. But the leader of this was Peyton Watson, because you need somebody to chase around Steph Curry as much as possible. And it's just so important for the team as a whole to see that somebody can take on that assignment. Last year, it was KCP, and KCP did such a great job on Steph Curry on a consistent basis. Could Peyton Watson be that guy for Denver this year? It's a tough ask, especially because Peyton's a little bit bigger, a little bit lankier, a little bit rangier. He's not as technically sound as somebody like KCP. So Curry's going to get free, but that doesn't mean that Watson can't impact the game in a very positive way, and he most certainly did. All right, let's take a break. Take our first break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Nuggets' depth, including Vlatko Cancar, Hunter Tyson, and Spencer Jones, among others. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Thanks for being here on this Tuesday morning following a big Nuggets win. Really quickly, did you know that second mortgages are now available? Contact our friends at SCL Mortgage. Call 303-790-2222 or visit myspecialmortgage.com. The link is in the description. They're a great mortgage company that you can trust. Hundreds of customers happy with a 5-star reputation. Make sure to check them out and let them know that you came from Mile High Sports. All right, let's get this in. Let's talk about it. Okay. Casey Max immediately dropping. Spencer Jones can't play in the playoffs. Cool. I mean, Is it because of the two-way contract or because he actually can't play? I think that, look, there's plenty of things that we can be positive or negative about. I assume that what you mean is that it's because of the two-way stipulation. And you're right. Like that's a big deal. Denver has to focus on the guys that can play, at least legally. So it was a good thing that they closed with Vlatko Chanchar last night. And it's just very, very important for Denver to have a variety of options that are just like available to them, because it's sometimes when Denver doesn't try to go into their bench, it feels like, oh my gosh, like where are they going to get this help? Where are they going to get anything? And Hunter Tyson played 20 minutes last night. He started, wasn't perfect. I think not the best plus minus on the team or anything like that. Jalen Pickett, Zeke Nnaji, the guys that you would think would be most helpful in a matchup like this, off the bench, didn't really provide much. I thought that Jalen was bad. I thought that Zeke was bad. I thought both of those guys really struggled in this particular game. Pickett did make a three. So did Zeke in the first half. But like the connection and the offensive decision making and the way that things were flowing, even with the turnovers from the main guys, like I thought that Pickett and Najee didn't really necessarily fit in as well as they needed to, but also playing as hard as they needed to on the defensive end and contesting shots and being physical, things like that. But the two guys that did manage to do it off the bench were Spencer Jones and Vlatko Chanchar. Let me talk about Hunter Tyson first really quickly. He's had a pretty tough year, I'll say. The opportunities that he's gotten, he hasn't really capitalized on. And this wasn't perfect. I'm not going to sit here and like carry water. But 7 rebounds in 20 minutes, including 4 on the offensive end, 2 steals. He made a 3, did a nice job finishing around the rim off of cuts and transition and things like that. Hunter did his job. He still was the guy that they were picking on, whether it was Jimmy Butler, whether it was Steph Curry, Jonathan Kuminga, I think went at him a couple times. But overall, like, you just need somebody that could have stepped in and filled a gap in the rotation. And he certainly did that and found a way to be positive while he was out there. But I don't think that he was the main story with these deep bench guys. I think Spencer Jones was, honestly. Two-way contract guy, had played 44 total minutes up until this particular game. And then he plays 19 last night, has 6 points on 3 of 4 from the field. Did miss the 3 from the corner, but like, who cares? Only had 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. But I thought his defense was fantastic last night. Somebody who can switch, who can chase around people, who can guard. He blocked Jonathan Kuminga, I believe. He stood him up multiple times at the post. He was switching on a consistent basis and making sure to cut off the rim as much as possible. But when guys did get to the rim, he was contesting shots really well. He played physical. He did have 4 fouls. I thought he got a pretty rough whistle on at least 2 of them. But like, just really liked the way that he played and really liked the way that it felt while he was out there. He's like 6'7", 6'8". Doesn't like he's not necessarily a natural mover, I'll say. Like a little bit squat, a little bit of a hard slide as opposed to just like a glide, if that makes sense. But in general, like you see a guy playing like that with the strength that he has, and you can understand how somebody like that could be positive in the modern NBA. He doesn't necessarily need to do a whole bunch of crazy things on the offensive end, but connecting things in the middle of a 1-5 pick and roll or post ups or a transition game or whatever, I could see him doing that absolutely. It was a really good kind of flash in the pan moment. You never want to overreact to these things because guys like are in the NBA for a reason. They can have good games. They can have good moments. The Nuggets have probably seen a little bit more behind the scenes in terms of, hey, we're not sure you're the right guy for these moments, that you're the right guy for these minutes. And yet, Jay Huff was kind of like that, you know? Like there's been a lot of guys that Denver's had in their, like on their 2-way contract stuff and on their deep bench that they haven't really given much of an opportunity to play, and they haven't really shown enough before going somewhere else and then flourishing there. So I don't know. Like I liked what I saw from him on the defensive end. most of the scoring that he had on the offensive end was just finishes around the rim from Russell Westbrook. So he's kind of set up a little bit, not necessarily like I still need to see more on the offensive end from him. He's not a guy who's going to go off the dribble at all. He's not really a guy who's going to run any DHO or pick and roll or anything of that nature. And the way that the shot form looks, I just don't believe that it's going to go in a ton. However, it doesn't have to go in a ton to be like Torrey Craig, you know? Like Torrey Craig was absolutely a very valuable role player for the Nuggets, despite the fact that he had his own flaws. And there are opportunities, I think, for guys like that to step up. So here's my proposal. I think that Michael Porter should get a little bit of rest over the course of these final 13 games of the season. And rather than like leaning too heavily on Peyton Watson, leaning too heavily on Aaron Gordon, keep those guys at a reasonable minute total. Let's go see what Spencer Jones has got. Let's go see, like, Hunter Tyson has played enough minutes. I think we know what he looks like. Spencer Jones hasn't played a ton. Maybe there's something there that I think the Nuggets could potentially see. So we'll have to see about that. Mike, but no Ike with the super chat. Ryan, that was insane. Best game. Can these others play well? We got to have faith still, but we should have tried more of these lineups before. They probably should have tried these lineups before. This is honestly what the beginning of the season should have been about. If Denver had taken better care of the first quarter of the season, they went 11-10. They had just lost to the Washington Wizards. I think there was a lot of panic at that point. But usually in those situations, like in the early portions of the season, that's where you start to see, all right, let's see what these other guys have. Let's see what PJ Hall has. Trey Alexander got a little bit of a shot to play, not a ton of minutes, but he got a little bit of time. PJ Hall never really got a shot, nor did Spencer Jones. And I think the reason why is honestly more the panic due to, hey, guys' jobs are on the line. The team has so much pressure on themselves. And I'm just not really surprised that things kind of go that way. But I understand why. I understand why from Malone's perspective, because you want to trust the guys that you play. You want to trust the guys that are going to be in the playoffs, and overly trusting two-way guys. Like, if you looked around at the rest of the NBA, Denver's situation is not like abnormal at all. Now, the difference is that Deron Holmes is out for the entire season, and maybe Denver should have tried to find another wing or big to fill in for him. And like Vlatko Čančar missed 4 months, maybe it's the same thing. So it's tough. Like I sympathize for these guys because these decisions are harder than people understand, and there are things going on behind the scenes that make it more difficult for things like that. But either way, thank you for the super chat, Mike. Really appreciate it. Always happy to see you pop in here. But hey, Spencer Jones was very successful, did a great job. He deserves a ton of credit. I hope he continues to play. If I had to guess, I would say that he plays like 5 games out of these final 13, and there will be some where Denver just decides to rest everybody, and that would be great. There will be some where Denver decides to rest maybe 1 or 2 forwards, and who knows? Maybe Spencer Jones pops in for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Maybe that's all that it takes. But then Vlatko Čančar, who was like the aforementioned injured player mid-November. I think he came back around early March, I want to say. And Denver hasn't played him a ton, but this was an opportunity for him to play extensive minutes, and the Nuggets needed somebody who was smart, who could connect the defense, who they could trust to make a shot in certain situations, who could be making the hustle plays. And Vlatko stepped up. 24 minutes, just 5 points, but 2 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Did have 3 turnovers, but like you'll live with it. There was one. It's actually really funny. There was a drive in the fourth quarter that he had. He was trying to make the right play. He passes it, didn't notice that the that the ball was going to get picked off, and he passes it, and immediately as he passes it, you can hear on the broadcast, "Ooh." It was really funny. And I got such a kick out of that because I've been there. And when you are unpracticed and haven't been at game speed and you're in a fourth quarter and you're like, I just assumed that this guy is going to move a little bit slower than he actually did. And he thought he could get the pass through, clearly didn't. And it was just very funny to watch. But happy for Vlatko, man. Happy for Vlatko because like he's a guy who absolutely has been on the fringe of NBA rotations for the better part of like 5 years and has done a great job stepping up in these moments for Denver. And it's just been hurt. He's hurt all of last year, hurt for the majority of this year, things that he can't control, just gotten very unlucky at various points. And the Nuggets have wanted to see what he could do. He's a player that you always feel good about stepping in for a specific like spot in the rotation because you know he's going to be smart. You know he's going to make the right decision most of the time. And like him getting that offensive rebound that he got in the middle of the defense, like about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, huge play right in the middle of the defense, puts it back up for a layup. You could see how happy Michael Porter was for him. That was a big play. And then he also hit a third quarter three, I'm pretty sure, off, or maybe it was fourth quarter, but hit a three-pointer off of the relocation. Jalen Pickett got the assist on that one. And I think the Warriors World guys on social were like, who the hell is Vlatko Čančar? That's him. That's Vlatko. He just makes the right play at the right time. Awesome dude, just very, very cool. I hope he continues to stay healthy. Could he be a guy that plays in the playoffs? Again, probably not, but you never know. Like you never know where contributions can come from. And him just being available to being an option for Denver is very important. All right. Good stuff from the entire rotation. Denver did a great job. Like this was a big win. Let me go to the standings here. I had this prepared before the standings. That's not the standings. That's the remaining strength of schedule. Here are the standings. So clearly I wasn't that prepared. OKC again, they're up 13 games on the competition, or I guess 12 and a half. I'll say 13 losses. And I tend to think, so they are pretty much solidified as number one. OKC has 68 games, or they've played 68 games. They've got 14 remaining. They're about to clinch the 1 seed. So it just wouldn't surprise me if they are, if they're going to start resting guys pretty heavily down the stretch, kind of like Denver did in 2023. Houston, though, Denver, LA, Memphis, all within 25 and 26 losses. And you just continue to see like Houston's on a 7-game win streak after they had been looking pretty shaky coming out of the All-Star break and kind of going into the All-Star break. Houston, if people remember, they were so far and away the 2 seed for a while that it wasn't even a thought that Denver could catch them until they went through a losing streak and Denver just won 8 in a row. So the fact that this like Houston's good, they're going to fight. They're going to probably get to about 54, 55 wins, I would guess. So Denver, I'm going to guess, is probably going to have to be comfortable with a 3, 4, or 5 seed. And it's going to depend on how healthy and good the Lakers are going to be and how healthy and good the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be. So that's going to change matchups pretty constantly, I'll say. Denver, of course, plays LA on Wednesday. I think if you're Denver, you want to win that game. You want to keep yourself in the 3 seed probably. And you want to keep the Lakers in the 4-5 matchup where they would then face OKC. It's probably the ideal situation. However, you can get Minnesota to not be in the 6-7 side of the bracket, you should try to do that, but you may not be able to control it. So Denver, I think, conspiracy theory, Denver probably wanted Golden State to win last night so that they could keep a spot over Minnesota. Golden State lost because Denver, like, despite resting guys, they played very hard and they won. And that's like, okay, not a bad byproduct, of course. But for Minnesota, they also lost to Indiana in overtime off of an Obi Toppin 3-point shooting sniper performance. So look, Minnesota isn't perfect, despite the fact that Denver, like, they had just won 7 in a row, so they're playing really good basketball. But it just wouldn't surprise me if Minnesota stays in the 7 and Golden State stays at the 6. Going to this page, this is the top 15 in remaining strength of schedule. Phoenix is by themselves at the top. Dallas is at 15. If you go back and you look at the standings, Dallas is currently 1 game up on Phoenix. It is insulting how bad Phoenix is. Should not be like they should. It's gonna be very, very interesting, I'll say, to see who ends up in the play-in tournament and who sits out. But Memphis and Denver are still at 9th and 10th in strength of schedule. The Lakers are still pretty high. So without LeBron for whether it's a short-term period or even just slightly longer, I would guess that they fall, but it matters that Denver kind of steps up in this moment. Like, they have to step up. And if they don't, then that's going to be an issue. So we'll see what happens in this game on Wednesday. I think Jokic is going to have to play pretty well. And like Jamal Murray's, I don't know if Jamal's going to be back, honestly. Like, there was this narrative that he just sat out because he had to, or because they wanted him to. I think it's more because he had to for this last one. Anyway, we got a super chat here from Mike again. The Lakers game is going to be the tiebreaker between Nuggets and Lakers. Lakers will win their division. So if the Lakers win, they have the tiebreak. Yeah, that's a big deal. A big deal in this standings page here. So again, if the Nuggets and Lakers, if they tie at the end of, I think it doesn't head-to-head tiebreaker. Does that not trump division tiebreaker? I don't remember. I think, you know what it is? When it's a 3-way tie, when it is a 3-way tie, division tiebreaker is the one that breaks it. Now, Houston is also going to be the division winner for the Southwest if they stay ahead of Memphis. So if, like, Denver's just got to stay out of 3-way tiebreaker scenarios. But if they stay ahead of the Lakers for, like, if they have the head-to-head, I'm pretty sure that that's the first tiebreaker in that case, but I could be wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But yeah, this is a big one for Denver. So thank you for the super chat, Mike, once again. I'm very curious to see how Denver handles this. If I go to the other page on my other windows here, Minnesota has the 3rd easiest schedule remaining. So they're going to probably climb. Golden State has the 13th easiest schedule. So they're going to have to take care of some business. It's very possible that Minnesota passes them for 6. So Denver, not going to lie, they play Minnesota one more time. They play Golden State one more time. Would not surprise me at all if Denver goes all out for a Minnesota win and then ducks Golden State the next time that they play and says, hey, we're also going to rest here, except we're going to rest 6 starters if they even can. Obviously, they can't because they've got 5, but that's fine. Look, either way, it's going to be fascinating to see the end of the year and how Denver kind of plays this. I'm going to be trying to look at the standings and kind of the magic numbers and things like that every time. If you guys remember last year, I put together a magic number kind of chart for Denver and the standings and what it's supposed to look like. So I'm going to start putting that together here in the coming days. But going to be fascinating to see who handles this well and where Denver ultimately ends up. Because if they end up as the 3 seed and the Lakers end up in the 4-5 and Minnesota's the 8 seed because they lost the play-in tournament in the 7-8, that's a pretty ideal scenario for Denver. Yes, they could still lose in the first 2 rounds, but I think you'd rather take your chances against the Warriors, the Clippers, the Rockets, or the whoever. I think you'd rather take a chance in either of those situations. So we'll see. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. Bump and chat here. Lots of fun. Thank you for stopping by, everybody. Really appreciate it. Going to be fun. I don't think I'm going. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be back on Thursday, but I'm going to be on Mile High Sports Today in studio on Wednesday. We've got a new studio. Make sure to tune in to check out what that's all about. But we've got that on Wednesday. That's going to be at about 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So make sure to check that out tomorrow. And we'll be able to, maybe we'll preview some March Madness. Maybe we'll preview some Nugget stuff, but should be a lot of fun. I'm very excited. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys very soon.